Now then, to another story that's in the news today. We're getting from Katie Kendrick. Katie, we've spoken to before about leaseholders. It's a little bit complicated, but Katie, I know, will be able to explain all to us. Katie, hello. Thanks for coming on to explain
Hello, Roger.
Hi. Now, you're the founder of this organisation that actually, National Leasehold Campaign. You've been running it for a while, haven't you?
Yes, Roger. We've been running the campaign now for just over 2 years, and we really are galvanising leaseholders throughout the country to take action against the abuses that so many of us are facing.
Now, the reason you're talking is a report out today, but just before we get to that, just explain what the problem is.
Okay. The problem is across the whole of the leasehold sector. It's toxic, it's abusive, and it's got to end, and it's got to be abolished. But we'll go back to the issue that predominantly affects me, which is the misselling of leasehold houses as leasehold. Predominantly in the northwest in the last 10 years, all of new build developments have all been sold as leasehold for absolutely no other purpose than to create a second income stream. Now, there's categorically no reason why a standalone house, should be sold as leasehold in the first place, and it's just another way of developers creating a second income, basically, all at our expense. The leaseholder does not own anything. All you own is the lease, which allows you to occupy that property for a set duration. It is not ownership. The freeholder owns the land and everything upon that land.
And the problem has been that the leases have been sold on, even though some people have been told, oh, it's only, £20 a year or something, peppercorn rent or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's been sold on. Just explain what happened in your case.
Okay, so what happens is, you go in, you see this lovely big house and you want to buy it, but it's leasehold. But don't worry, they say, you can buy the freehold after a couple of years for a couple of £1,000. This wasn't just said to me, this was said to thousands upon thousands of people, but unbeknown to ourselves, that before you get to your 2 years, that freehold has been sold on to an offshore third-party investor. We don't actually know who they are, because there's a loophole in current legislation that allows them to sell the land on without notifying of you first, and you only have the legal right to purchase your freehold once you've lived there for 2 years. So they sell them on before you get to the 2 years, before you're able to exercise your right to purchase the freehold.
And they can be very expensive eventually to buy out. And also they have restrictions. The new people can put restrictions on what you can do with your house. Yeah,
I mean, the leases and the ground rents can't change whatever is specified within your lease days, but it's all the other permission fees which go up because they're so vaguely written within a lease that's another element of the abuse. It's not just the ground rent fees, it's all the permission fees. For example, in my case, the permission to build a small conservatory would have been £300 with my original developer. When they sold my freehold on, that same permission went to £2,600. It's just a money-making cash cow.
But people won't buy. People won't buy off you, will they, when they've got these restrictions?
No. It's becoming increasingly difficult to sell a leasehold house regardless of their terms of their lease.
Okay. I want to make sure people know what's going on today. The House of Commons Housing Committee, Clive Brett's committee, they've actually come up with a report about all this, haven't they?
Yeah, our campaign, the National Leasehold Campaign, about a year ago, asked the Select Committee to run an inquiry into the leasehold scandal, and our calls for actions were listened to, and they did launch this inquiry, to which I went down to Westminster and gave evidence at the Select Committee inquiry. The report came out today, and I can say it's absolutely damning. It's brilliant. In terms of leaseholders should be so proud of themselves for this report today, because we have worked so hard to get over how abusive and rotten this system is. And the report, it's over 100 pages long, and it really does reflect how big this scandal is, and it's huge.
And it does, I understand it's quite legally possible for the government to intervene and help victims of the scandal and back victims like yourself. Not just what's going to happen in the future, but what's been happening in the past.
It absolutely is, and this report reflects that. It says, whilst they appreciate it's difficult to change the terms of existing leases, it is not impossible. The government are urging the CMA, the Competitive and Markets Authority, to investigate a mis-selling within the leasehold sector within the next 6 months. and where needed to make recommendations for appropriate compensation. You know, this is massive for existing leaseholders. The changes going forward are brilliant, but we cannot forget the existing leaseholders which are trapped. And this report today really does capture how much help is needed for existing leaseholders, and we really hope that the government take action on the recommendations in today's report.
Yeah, because it's not going to automatically solve it. They called for the Competition and Markets Authority to have a look at this whole thing.
Yes.
They've also, interestingly, they said developers should be banned from offering buyers deals to use their recommended solicitors.
Yeah, that's right, and that's hopefully another avenue that they're going to explore. They've also recommended within the next 6 months that the legal ombudsman scheme has a look, and also the alternative dispute resolution, to see whether there's any legitimate claims can be brought against recommended conveyancers.
I couldn't believe the number of this report. 4.2 million leaseholders. I didn't realise there were that many.
To be perfectly honest, Roger, I actually think that the number is a lot higher than that, and LKP, the Leasehold Knowledge, would dispute that it's more around the 6 million, to be perfectly honest. And there's so many people out there that don't realise what they have actually signed up to. This report, it's just absolutely damn it. They just cannot defend it for any longer. It has to stop.
Well, has to stop, and also people like yourself, it needs to be sorted out as well. You have still got a fight on your hands, though, because although this is a House of Commons Select Committee report, the Competition Markets Authority are going to have a look at it, but the government sought to act.
Well, yeah, and it's like anything at the minute. I mean, Brexit just takes over so much of the government's time that it's really difficult to get anything meaningful through at the minute. But that doesn't mean we're going to stop. We're going to continue. Anybody that purchased a leasehold property, whether it's a house or a flat, please do join the National Leasehold Campaign. We've got a petition to abolish leasehold, and that's got over 21,000 signatures on. So we really do need to keep galvanising leaseholders to have that stronger voice, and we will win this David and Goliath battle, because that is exactly what it is.
Katie, I've got to leave it, but thank you for explaining it so well and briefly. Thanks a lot for that.
Thanks very much, Roger.